Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm back with another review. This is of P-Valley, Season 2, Episode 8, The Death Drop. I know I was pretty much late with this episode. I've been kind of busy with a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, I would try not to do this again, but I know I'm super late with this review. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, you know what I'm saying? Share the video, do all that stuff. So let's start with this review. Okay, so this episode was a really crazy one. A whole lot of stuff went on in this one. Mercedes basically, she's still having problems, stuff like that, dancing, doing her thing, and she ends up talking to Clifford about basically fighting for the club, because they're starting to lose it and stuff like that, and Autumn is trying to take it over and sell it. So Mercedes got that going on for her, and then Clifford ends up, having his first scene of this episode. We see him; he's basically giving Little Murder a lineup and stuff like that. Then they talk about each other's past relationships and stuff like that, what's been going on, if they, if everything going on and stuff like that, if anybody got anything, caught anything from, past lovers and stuff like that. They kind of have a debate about that before Clifford ends up getting called about his mom. Mercedes, she reconnects with Maine, and it seemed like there's some sparks flying. She was jogging with her dog and stuff like that, and then she has a short talk with him, and it seems like in this episode that they were going to start to rekindle things, but we end up seeing that things sort of change. I'm going to get into that later on in this review. Then Krishan, she ends up meeting with Autumn at a restaurant, and Autumn ends up giving her passports and stuff like that with her birth certificate and everything like that, so she can be able to get out of town. And Krishan basically ends up bringing up Autumn's real name and stuff like that, and sort of the alias that she created and what happened to the person who actually has her name, Haley. What happened to that person and stuff like that. So we get an idea. So she gets an idea of Autumn's past, about how she came to on the show, basically sort of her origins and stuff like that, and But anyway, Andre's father is found to be alive, and he's basically outed as a liar. Corbin goes off on Andre about his history because basically it ends up hurting his campaign. This whole thing coming out about his father. Patrice is outed also, but instead she basically says that she hoed so people can fly. Basically she sort of owns up to her history, that she used to be out there doing her thing, and she stands her ground basically. So Andre's father is, all this stuff coming out with his dad is just sort of messing up the campaign. Corbin is going completely off about it, so that creating a whole bunch of drama and stuff like that. But as you can see, Patrice is definitely not backing down during her campaign. She's going to double down on it and own her past, which I found pretty interesting for her character to do. Derek is losing it over Krishan not being able to fit the shoe. He's just going pretty much crazy. He buys her a shoe, and she basically says that after having two kids, I can't really fit the shoes like I used to, and he's just flipping out, going crazy as always. And he basically showing more of a weaker side, I would say. Basically, him being so emotional, and he's just basically showing his weak side, and she's just like, I'm stuck with this goofy. But eventually he ends up agreeing to let her go back to working at the club. So it's interesting. This actually finally puts a smile on her face. She gets to also get a break from that lunatic. Wayne Kyle was the one to put Andre's father out there in the open. He ends up making a reference to Corbin being a half black bastard, and his dad was one of the good ones. So basically, Wayne Kyle is showing his clearly prejudice side. I don't even think this is prejudice side. It's just who he is. Basically, he's just showing how sick he is and how far he's willing to go to, in this campaign. Basically, when he's willing to put out Andre's father like that, just completely sick. He's definitely going to be the main antagonist of this show. I can see maybe like an overarching villain. I would say Wayne Kyle. Oh, by the way, Autumn in that lavender dress in that scene where she was in the salon, stunning. She, anyway, Little Murder sees Big Teak in a morgue and stuff like that. He's mourning him. Wody is at the morgue also, basically, and they have a talk. I like the discussion that they had. It was really, I love the dialogue in that scene. He says, "We are all, we all." Let me see. He said, "We are all gods," and I think he said, "We are all God and we are the devil," something like that. What he says. I think I probably mispronounced that, but I love his quotations. I like a lot of his scenes and his dialogue. Wody, he's a really interesting character. I like his scene that he had in the morgue with Little Murder. I like their conversation they had. It was so many different uh, bars they dropped in that scene. It was just so interesting. I just liked it. I thought that was really cool. Basically, Little Murder confronted him about killing Rome and stuff like that. I like that whole dialogue they had. Wody claims he will handle whatever happens from basically his killing of Rome. Then he tells Murder has to, and then, yeah, basically he says he's going to take whatever happens. So whatever consequences that comes from him poisoning Rome a few episodes ago, he's going to stand up and take whatever happens. And he basically says that Murder has to make it out of the mud. Murder has to, his career has to go up. So I guess you could say that's a real friend that he's willing to mess up his own life just to make sure Little Murder ends up having a career. So that's pretty interesting. I like that whole scene of dialogue they had. And Autumn is out. Mercedes on this. Okay, so Autumn puts Mercedes out on the spot to make her show her new skills, basically, of if she's able to still strip, and she completely fails. Just showing that basically she's probably up for an early retirement. Basically, I mean she's already, I guess, past her prime or something like that after this shoulder incident. So it shows that she's still not ready for this. And then basically, Krishan comes back and basically takes the throne right from Mercedes. She's like a princess coming to take the crown from the queen. Basically, she just comes back and everybody loves her, and it's just Mercedes just losing all of her power. Basically, she's losing all of her popularity, and it's just Roulette and Whisper basically love her too. They look up to her, and it's just like, wow. I know Mercedes must hate that because she seemed like she was the star in season one, and now she's just basically her star is starting to fade out basically. So they had that scene where they were both sort of with their backs to each other, looking at their mirrors when they were in the locker room scene. It seemed like Krishan's her light was so much brighter than Mercedes. I guess they did that intentionally to show that basically Krishan is she's blowing up basically, and Mercedes is just fading off, and yeah, you know, But anyway, so after arguing with Autumn, Clifford has a dream basically about his mom and stuff like that, motivating him after they had an argument and stuff like that about basically the pink, So they've been feuding, but he has a dream about his mom. Sort of, she was in the back seat, motivating him to just basically keep on going. So that's how that scene was. We're going to see a little bit more of that later on in this review. They give Big Teak a real hood funeral. You know what I'm saying? I like the song they played in the background. I think that was by Scarface. I could be wrong. I Shazammed it, but I love that song in the background. I loved his. That was a real hood funeral. The way they had him dressed up, it was incredibly hood, but it was nice though. Pico basically was laughing online about his death and stuff like that. That's something a lot of these new rappers do. They'll get on Instagram laughing about somebody's death or making some lewd reference about it. So that felt kind of realistic to what rappers do nowadays. So I'm happy to put that in there. And basically, Murder has plans to, do like his name says, and murder. So, that's what you can tell all on his face. He even gets motivation to do it, even by one of the old heads, which is kind of disturbing. You would think one of the old heads would try to talk him out of it, but he's talking him into it. So, we're going to get into what he ends up doing later on in this episode. Roulette pushes Whisper to basically sort of hook up with a customer, have sex with him outside the club, basically. So that's what she motivates her to do. While also calling Mercedes old, so they want to throw some shade at Mercedes and stuff like that. But they're trying to make their own little money outside the club, kind of like Mercedes. So that's interesting. And let me see. Shelly gets mad. I think that's her name. I hope I spelled that right. Shelly gets mad at Mercedes because Mercedes took Tarika to get an abortion, basically. And Tarika decides to go with Shelly after the argument. After Mercedes gets into it with her and stuff like that, she decides to go with her other mom, and that kind of probably breaks Mercedes' heart a little bit. But Tarika's just stuck in the middle between her birth mom and her basically her birth mom and her sort of stepmom, I guess. So she's just stressed out. Poor Tarika, So yeah. Anyway, so Clifford decides to work with Corbin basically. So he got some plans going on there between them two. That's about it going on there. I want to see how that's going to go for them. I don't really know if Corbin is really a good, stable person for Clifford to be working with, but we'll see. I just personally, my theory is that Clifford is not Clifford. Corbin is not a stable person for Clifford to be working with. Corbin is just completely emotional and stuff like that. He's this whole campaign is really getting him to lose his mind. I just don't think that Clifford is a good person for Corbin to go into business with. My personal opinion, you know. Whisper gets a bad feeling about working with Roulette, about doing this whole thing where she basically has sex with this guy and stuff like that. And the man only wants Whisper. I can understand because Whisper is basically one of the hottest characters, you know, to pop up on this show in this new season. She's, even though them eyes are obviously fake, the character's really just, I don't know what it is about her. She's really, I can't even explain it. Really mythical character. She's just really interesting. Maybe she's weird, and I just like that weirdness that she got. But anyway, Roulette wants to, basically look after her, make sure everything is going okay, so they don't have a players club incident, if you know what I mean. So they set that up. Then there's a scene where Autumn and what's this guy's name? I forgot his name. Autumn and the guy that likes her, I forgot his name. Andre, I think that's his name. Is his name Andre? Hold on one second. Let me make sure I got his name right. Okay, yeah. So his name is Andre. I wanted to make sure when it's. So they have a scene where they're talking together, basically, and stuff like that, and talking about business, and then she ends up getting an idea from him for the campaign. I don't remember what happened in that scene because I was honestly kind of distracted by when Autumn said, "Want to do it again?" That line that she had when she was talking to him and stuff like that. Autumn, the actress that play her, I think that she's probably, I'm not sure. There's so many fine women on PVALLEY. I don't really know who's the hottest. I really don't. I can't. But Autumn, there's a certain way that she talk and the way that she dress. She just look good. I don't know. She's, I don't know. But that line where she says, want to do it again, but the way she says it, I thought that was just kind of hot. I'm sorry. She was super sexy when she said that. But anyway, so let me finish. So after the guy takes Whisper, do his thing and stuff like that, he tries to stiff her basically. Then he ends up choking her out, but Roulette ends up pulling out a gun and plays Russian roulette with this guy basically. I thought the gun was going to probably be empty. We're going to find out what happens later on that episode. But basically, they end up sticking this dude up and taking his car, and she ends up taking his car to a chop shop. It didn't really seem like the best idea. I know this guy was definitely, total loser for trying to, choke out and trying to rob two, strippers and stuff like that. It was completely wrong of him. But this guy also knows where they work at. So I'm pretty sure he's probably not going to really be too happy about this. I don't know if you want to get revenge. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe later on in the season he might. But I don't think it's the best idea for, them to be doing that to a dude that know where they live, know where they work at. It just seemed like the worst idea to do, but, I don't know. I feel like I got a feeling that he might possibly want to get revenge on them later on in this season, possibly, or maybe even next season. But they can't really pull some stuff like that. They was wilding out, but they did their thing. Roulette makes a guy basically make out with the gun, just shove the gun in his mouth while they were robbing him. Then they flee. Like I said, I think he may come back. But yeah, that was insane. That whole scene, I really thought that she was going to possibly shoot him. But yeah, they just took his clothes and his car and dipped off. That was crazy. Little Murder ends up basically finding where Pico is after he was talking to his son on the phone. I guess to make us feel sorry for Pico. But if he really cared about living and seeing his son grow up, maybe you probably shouldn't be feuding with rappers and making fun of other rappers that die. Because he might want to get revenge, Pico. I don't know what was he thinking, but he basically ends up turning into Swiss cheese. Just completely fills him. Little Murder completely fills him up with holes. Just And then Maine is basically in the same gang as Pico, so that's going to cause some weirdness going on. So now there's going to most likely be some type of feud between Maine and Murder. Wow, that's crazy. So that might have some issues going on between Mercedes and Uncle Clifford, because basically they're both sort of been in some sort of relationship, both these two guys. But now there's a feud going on there. So I don't know how that's going to go. There's definitely going to be some type of feud between Murder and Maine. Something going on there. Wow. Mercedes doesn't seem to want to give it up to Maine. She doesn't seem. She's always seemed like she had a crush on him and stuff like that ever since season one, but she's just not really into it. I guess maybe after she was getting into some type of sex work earlier in this season and stuff like that. She just then her becoming closer with her daughter Tarika. She just wants to sort of change her life around. And he respects her and decides that I hope you find what you're looking for. So they part ways after her finally getting a chance to possibly hook up with her man crush Monday. She ended up deciding that she just doesn't want to do it. So Clifford he goes to his mom grave and talks to her after sort of talking to her in the back seat. Her little ghost and stuff like that. That whole scene, he looks so much like Lafayette from True Blood in that season, in that episode. It just the whole atmosphere that looked like a scene straight out of True Blood with Lafayette. Anybody that's seen True Blood, you should know what I'm talking about. If you